Okay, welcome back to Mike's Garage. There's no name for this channel, I just rebuild 911 engines, so yeah. Anyway, another update to my car. I'm just test fitting the wiring harness in the engine bay and running it through to the front of the car because I need to get that finalised. And once that part's done, then I can start focusing on doing the harness on the side of the engine. If you're wondering what that, I'm not sure if you can hear that noise in the background. I've just got a fan going at pretty high speed. It's 35 degrees or something and about a gazillion% humidity. So that's why I've got that fan going. I don't have an air-conditioned garage, unfortunately. So anyway, I'm just going to switch the camera around and we'll go into the engine bay over there and we'll have a bit of a look at it. Okay, so here we are in the engine bay and I'm just going to try and talk myself through this as well as you. Just makes it easier. I mean, if I talk you through it, then I guess it helps reinforce in my mind what's going on. This is my relay and fuse block, which is going to be mounted where the old CDI used to mount. It's actually quite convenient because this box comes with a couple of stainless steel mounts. One of them goes into the top mount where the CDI was mounted, and the bottom one actually goes into a bolt which is a ground strap for that assembly. So that's where these relays are going to be grounded on to make the circuit. And from here I'm running this is the power wire. I haven't sheathed it yet, but this is going to be sheathed, and that's running all the way across the back of the engine bay and then down around the right hand shock tower, and it will meet down here with the starter motor. So that's where all the power for the relays and the sensors and everything on the engine is going to come from. The harness for the car I've got mounted here, so you can I haven't terminated it yet with the bulkhead connector. I'll show you what's happening with that in a minute, but I've just routed that through, and you can see, I again haven't fastened it yet, haven't done the final sheathing, but I wanted to test fit it. That's going to run through here and be tied alongside that air conditioning hose above the sway bar mount and through the firewall. And I've got a hole in my car because I've had a 3.2 engine in here before, and that's where the harness would normally mount through for the harness for a 3.2. So that's a handy little location there. That's where I've drilled it, and then there'll be a grommet, and I'll tape up the grommet so no water can ingress. Also, all the grounds for the ECU harness, I'm not sure if you can see that, they branch off from here, and I'm running them around the back through this braided cable. That's going to run again down through the side here, and I haven't terminated it yet because I didn't know the exact length, but that's going to ground out onto the grounding strap, which is where the transmission and engine mounts, they ground on the body as well. So that's going to be my main grounding point. So out of this I'm running this plug. This is a DTM connector, and this is going to supply 12 volts from each of these relays through to the engine harness, and one's going to supply 12 volts for the wideband sensor, the idle valve and the boost controller. The other one will be for the coils, and the other one will be for the injectors. And the idea is that if I want to, like when you're checking for your trigger to see if you're synced, I can pull the injector one out, so when I'm cranking I won't be putting any fuel in the engine while I'm just testing for spark. And also you can pull both of these out so that when you're doing your initial crank to build up oil pressure, you can pull these out with no fear of wasting spark or having shorts or whatnot. Out of the engine harness here, so all of these pins are ready to go into the bulkhead connector. That's pretty straightforward. And then I've got these 4 wires coming out. Whoa, don't know if you can hear that, but we're about to have a major thunderstorm, so I'm just going to try and do this quickly. So these 4 wires here, one is the trigger for the fuel pump. So this is this is the ECU, and it's going to ground out the pump relay. So I need to put another wire in the back which will and run it to the front of the car, and that'll power the pump. This one here is what is this one? Oh, that's the tacho wire. So this one's going to tap into I'm going to have to build an engine harness for this 14-pin connector here. So I'm going to tap into the pin which normally supplies the signal to the tachometer. And then the other two are just the ECU 12 volts and also the switched ignition. These are going to tap into my main relay here. That shouldn't say main, that should say ECU. Because again, the way I'm going to run this is I'm going to have it so that all of my relays are turned on by taking 12 volts from here, except for the pump one. Yeah, they're all going to turn on from here, and that's how I'm going to activate the relay block. So I'm just going to stop the video and I'm going to wheel my test engine. This is an engine that I've sold, but I'm just going to wheel in the connector because I've got the bulkhead connector mounted on the side there. That's how I've chosen to do it. I just want to see how it fits. Okay, so I've just got this engine sitting in here. It's not 100% up to the full height. Well, let's get it up there a bit higher. Seem to be running out of lift on this table. That's no good. So what I've done is I've just made up this little mounting bracket using some acrylic, and I don't know how well that's going to hold up in the engine bay heat. Hopefully it will. So the idea is that all of these pins will mount in here, and I'm going to run, I hope to run the harness, just tuck it in a little bit more to the side there. And yeah, so that's that part. And I'll have to have 3 more wires coming out of here, which will end in another one of these connectors. And I may need to redo this and shorten these wires and sort of tuck them somewhere. But I'm just getting it all fairly close to how it needs to be. But I think that should work. And that's obviously going to have a cover on it. Yeah, so that's my arrangement. And then, of course, once that's all finalised, which I'm pretty sure this is finalised for the location, now I'll be able to assemble. Again, this is not the actual engine. The engine I'm going to be using is sitting over there. That's my 3-litre SC, but it's going to have these intakes on it. So I'm going to be able to bolt this to the side of the intakes, and then I can do all my wiring to all my sensors. And wow, it's really hard to compete with that. Yeah, so I should be able to do my wiring and tuck it fairly neatly and have it out of the way, and so it'll all come through here and then out to wherever. So I guess I'll have a junction and bridge off, etc. So let's go inside the car and have a quick look. So this is just to show you where everything's coming through on the inside of the car. I'll just try and, there we go. And then I'm going to run under here. You can see my cables, and I'll obviously have the ECU plugged in, and I'll mount it underneath the seat somewhere nice and securely. So that'll all be under the carpet, and I know I've used the glue-lined heat shrink here, which I'm hoping that it's quite stiff now that I've shrunk it, but I'm pretty sure that if I hit it with the heat gun again, I'm certain that will actually soften up, and I should be able to yeah, make it contour to the shape a little bit better. So that's my project. It seems to be progressing slowly, but it's getting there. Anyway, let me know what you think. Drop me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe.